The 8-foot alien queen chuckled at the thought of breeding with a human until she found herself pregnant. The biting wind carried icy particles across the alien terrain as Commander Will Watson wrestled with the manual controls of his rapidly plunging shuttle. The ship's hull creaked under the pressure of atmospheric entry, systems failing one after another as strange interference from this uncharted world disrupted the electronics. "Come on, you worthless piece of shit," he growled, muscles tensing against the control yoke. "Just a little more time." The ground sped toward him, a blanket of white broken only by the dark shapes of alien plants. The shuttle's remaining engine sputtered and died just as he managed to level out, leaving him in an eerie silence, only broken by the whistle of wind rushing through the damaged hull. The impact slammed him against his restraints hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. When the world stopped spinning, Will found himself hanging upside down, blood dripping from a cut above his eye. The cockpit window was cracked, but somehow still held together, offering a clear view of the snow-covered ground just inches from his face. He muttered, letting go of his harness and dropping down toward what used to be the ceiling. That could have gone smoother. A quick check showed most of his emergency supplies had made it, including his powered armor. The black combat suit, a feat of human ingenuity, would keep him alive in this hostile world, at least for a while. Will strapped into it, leaving the helmet off for now to save power as he stepped into the alien winter. The snow reached his knees, and the wind sliced through his blonde hair like frozen blades. His tactical display read -40 degrees Celsius. "Mayday! Mayday!" he broadcast across all channels. "This is Commander Watson of the ESS Hyperion. Does anyone copy?" Static was all he got back. In his peripheral vision, something moved, a flash of orange against the white landscape. Will spun instinctively, reaching for his pulse rifle, but it was only the swaying alien trees. He needed shelter and supplies. The shuttle's power cells were fried, and the backup wouldn't last more than a few days in this harsh environment. According to his scanners, there was a large geological formation about 2 kilometers to the north that might offer protection from the elements. As he trudged through the snow, Will couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. His combat training kept his senses alert, even as his mind wandered to how he'd ended up in this mess. The Hyperion had been mapping this sector when they detected an unusual energy signature. Standard procedure would have been to mark it for later investigation, but humanity's expansion into the galaxy had been marked by an almost reckless drive to push further, faster. A crack of breaking ice behind him made Will whirl around, rifle raised. This time he wasn't imagining things. Standing before him was the most striking alien he'd ever encountered. She towered over him, easily 8 feet tall, with skin the color of a sunset and hair like flowing copper. Her armor, if it could be called that, seemed to be made of overlapping orange scales that left little to the imagination while somehow maintaining an air of martial dignity. She held a weapon that looked like a cross between a spear and a plasma rifle, pointed directly at his chest. "Well, hello there," Will said calmly, keeping his weapon steady but not pointed directly at her. "I doubt you'd be interested in having a friendly chat." The alien's golden, feline-like eyes narrowed thoughtfully. When she spoke, her voice was deep and melodic, and surprisingly, his universal translator handled it smoothly. "You're either very brave or quite foolish to step into the sovereign territory of the Solarian Empire, human. Would you believe I'm just lost?" He offered his most charming smile. "Commander Will Watson, at your service, and you are—" She paused, her intriguing eyes scanning him from head to toe. "Am I your prisoner?" Will kept his relaxed smile, though his mind rapidly considered tactical options. "Your Majesty, I'm flattered by your interest, but I usually prefer dinner before being taken prisoner." That might have been a chuckle. You're just facing capture? Typical human bravado. Not bravado, just good manners. Besides, you haven't captured me yet. His armor systems were already analyzing her weapon, calculating threat levels.
Although I'll admit the company is better than I expected when I crashed here, Aurelia's weapon stayed steady, but a flicker of amusement crossed her face. You think you can talk your way out of this? I've heard stories about human men and their tendencies. Did you really think you'd find some obedient alien female to save you? Actually, I was just looking for shelter before I freeze solid. Having a stunning alien queen with me is just a nice bonus. He gestured to the worsening storm. By the way, this weather's only getting worse. Maybe we should continue this somewhere warmer? You dare to suggest that? Her voice held a mixture of outrage and curiosity. I wouldn't dream of it, Your Majesty. I just thought we'd both be more comfortable inside during this standoff. A fierce gust of wind swept snow between them, and she slightly shivered despite her attempt to hide the cold. The storm was turning dangerous, even with his enhanced armor. Your idea has merit, she finally said. My outpost is out. Lead the way. Though I should warn you, I'm not exactly great at taking orders. As they trudged through the deepening snow, Will kept a careful distance, watching how she moved with predatory grace despite her size. His suit sensors noted she was generating a lot of body heat, much more than a human would. I have to admit, she said after a few minutes walking, you're not what I expected based on the reports about human males. Oh, and what did you expect? Smaller, weaker, more primitive. She glanced at him with long, assessing looks. The data indicated your species wouldn't be worth much of a conquest. Will chuckled. Looks like you need better intelligence. Humans are full of surprises. Then they reached what seemed to be a solid rock face, but with a touch, a hidden door slid open. Though I find it hard to believe your kind could ever really challenge the Solarian Empire, the idea of breeding with a human male is downright laughable. Funny you mention that, Will started, but was cut off by a deafening explosion overhead. The mountains shivered as chunks of ice and rock rained down around them.